Another thing that was really cool about this was now that I was on the SmackDown announce team, I got to participate in the production meetings. Now, this was awesome. This is one of the coolest things I got to do being at WWE, and just was so eye-opening, especially from being a talent. Like, I had no idea what went on in these meetings. Tell you what it was like. So, whatever call time was for the talent, the production meeting would be, we'd have to be there like an hour or two ahead. They'd always run late. Then we would get in there, everybody would be seated, and then eventually, when Vince came in, it started. First, they would have, sometimes they might have somebody tell a joke. Otherwise, they would check in with WWE social media, and they would just let Vince know the trends, what people were talking about on social media from the previous show, what things worked, what things didn't, yada yada yada. Then if there was a live event, or I'm sorry, a premium live event or a pay-per-view coming up, they might touch on that a little bit. Otherwise, they would get right into the show for that night, which was SmackDown for me. And so then they would go through it segment by segment. And so Road Dogg was the head producer, the head writer. He would get up and usually lead this, and then he would defer to different agents or writers for their parts. So like if there's opening segment, he would defer to the writer, who would then explain the opening segment, what the purpose was, the promo, who's cutting it or whatever, and how that was going to set up later in the night, yada yada yada. Then they would go through the matches, and whoever the agent was would just explain it, and then the agent would say what they were looking for in the match. Now, this was interesting because rarely, if ever, were like specific wrestling moves ever discussed. Like the technical part of it, that's not what this was about. This was more macro level storyline wise, where the wins and the losses didn't even necessarily matter. It was more about where they're going with the story, or people being represented, or like how the win was supposed to elevate a character, and what it would do to the other character. For example, like if CM Punk was going to win, was it going to be a dominant win? Was it going to be a competitive match? Was he going to have to barely win or sneak something on somebody? Like these are the kind of things that were important, and not necessarily so much as does he beat him with his finisher, or how this. Although it was important sometimes, like whether somebody would submit or not. Also, the production meetings were fascinating because I got to hear real feedback on the talent. We would hear the road reports sometimes from the live events, because remember I said, like, talent, when you do live events, there's agents there. They submit a report of every live event, which is like a report card. And so we would hear these sometimes, like if there was anything notable that stuck out, like you would hear who had a great match. Sometimes you would hear maybe a not so great match, or something that wasn't over. But it just was, it was eye-opening to me. And you would hear who they're high on. Then I could see sometimes, like when they would be pushing a certain talent, and then it would be hard to put your finger on, but something might not work out. And all of a sudden it would be like, one week we're pushing this talent, now that talent is like not even mentioned anymore. But then also, like seeing what things influenced, match outcomes. If there were, sometimes there might be too many baby faces going over in a row or something like that. So all right, let's have the heel go over. Different things like that, and then how they swapped out talent sometimes, because you might find out, you're having a match earlier in the day, and then later, like the opponent gets changed, and you wonder why. And as a talent, or like if the talent is switched off, the talent wonders if it's something they did or something like that, when actually might have nothing to do with that. They might think somebody else matches up better, and the point of that segment was for the other talent, not the talent who was replaced. But the talent who was replaced, they don't know this, so they don't know if they're in the doghouse, if they have heat, whatever's going on. And then I would hear stuff from time to time where, like, they would give somebody like a chance, basically, or like this is their last chance. Somebody doesn't do something particularly good, like, all right, we give them one chance, like, they got to get this right this time, or whatnot. I remember, like, I used to clue people in as much as I could because I just, was thinking like, man, if somebody was telling me hypothetically, my punches were terrible. Hey, they weren't the best. Somebody was telling me this and like, hey, he better really pick them up this match. Like this better look believable. I'd want somebody to tell me. This exact scenario happened, and I did tell that individual. And I remember he was really grateful. And thankfully, I mean, I guess he cleaned it up that match because he went on, to have a good career. But yeah, but there was a few times like little things like this happened where if I found out some information that can help a talent, I would go tell him. I wasn't gatekeeping. I would go tell him because hey, I wish somebody would have done that for me. But the production meetings were awesome, and just seeing how Vince ran them was cool. I'll tell you a story that just lets you know how these meetings were. One time we're waiting for Vince, and like he's late. He'd be late sometimes, but this time he was really late. And then Road Dogg stepped out of the room, took a call, came back in. He's like, guys, I got an update. Apparently, Vince just tore both of his quads at the gym, like while he was squatting. And we're like, what? And I'm like, wait. He tore his quads before. The surgically repaired ones? Yeah, they tore him again. And so we're like, all right. So then, we're thinking we're getting ready to start the meeting. And then Road Dogg's like, oh, but we got to wait for him. We're like, what do you mean? He's coming in. Like, wait, he just tore both of his quads. Is he going to the hospital? No, he wants to come in first. And even the way Road Dogg was telling us, it was funny because like he realized how ridiculous this was. And I'm thinking, I was like, is this real? And sure enough, we waited like 25 minutes, 30 minutes. I'll never forget this. They open up the door. I kid you not. Two guys are holding Vince under each leg, and he's got his arms draped over. They carry him in like on a throne, like this is Coming to America or something. They carry him in, and he's got his arms like this, his legs just dangling. They put him in the chair. I kid you not. He's acting like this is totally serious. He doesn't sell it at all. All right. Social media. What do you have? Right to business. So, okay. You just got carried in here and nobody's going to say anything. They put you in a chair. All right to business. You got it. Obviously, he never stood up the whole time. And I know they had to carry him out, but I left before getting to see that. I think he made everybody leave first. But the point of this was, this guy, I mean, he's no joke. Like, he's a badass. Like, he didn't need to do this. But the reason he wanted to show up and go through this was just to let people know how much of a badass he is. It worked, man, because God forbid, but any normal person would have gone straight to the hospital, already been in surgery probably, or loaded with painkillers, not sitting through a production meeting, tearing up the whole show of Raw and rewriting it, or whatever happened that day, because that did happen a lot. Oh, while we're on this, here's something else. I don't know if people realize, like you might have heard rumors about this, but this happened nearly every week. It's like they would write the shows out for like months, and we would have the production meeting. We would go through the whole show. Vince would look over. No, all right. He'd kick everybody out, tear up the show, make them rewrite another one. What? We've been in production meeting for 2 hours? Nope, didn't scrap the whole thing. I do it again. This happened like nearly every week. I'm telling you, it happened all the time. But I don't know, there's something about Vince thrived on spontaneity. Because the other thing was, a lot of times in WWE, like if it's Raw or SmackDown, which is live, we would know that we have a segment coming up. So like there'd be a backstage. You can pre-tape that because it would be called a pre-tape. But for whatever reason, they would always wind up having to do it live. And Vince said it one time, he thinks people perform better live. Not always. Sometimes, some people, not always. But also, during this time, it was just cool getting to know, like the production staff, the agents. During this time, this is when I became better friends with Jamie Noble, believe it or not. Because now I saw him every week in the production meetings, and I wasn't in the ring, so he didn't have my matches. So like, and he knew I was a commentator, like I had a little bit more clout. So like he respected me a little bit more. But also, man, like we've worked together so long, and you know, we're always cool. Shout out to Jamie Noble again. Tonga, you still work here? Always. But shout out to him. Um, Also during this time, like I got to know Kevin Dunn and like work with him, which was awesome.